I'm Ashley, and I'm from Kuching, Sarawak. Okay, so this competition really helped me explore in my passion, helped me grow even more. That's why I joined this competition. Usually my friend will ask me, what type of things do you like to create? What recipes do you like to do? And I have a really strange recipe technique. Like, I really like to mix fruits with proteins, and desserts. I'll put a bit of vegetables inside. It's pretty quirky, but it's like my dish. My dish I've made today, it's tuna and watermelon tartare with top it off with basil ice cream. So it's quite crazy. I bet some of you must be thinking like, am I out of my mind? Will it work? Well, trust me, it does, okay? So what I did is I actually diced some tuna and watermelon and equal sized, and I mixed it with lemon juice, a bit of light soya sauce, white vinegar, and also capers, shallots, and one of my ultimate favorite, I love to put bunga kantan. Bunga kantan is also known as ginger torch. So ginger torch really has this fragrant smell. This smell that it smells like rose water. So it's like when you mix it through it with the tuna and watermelon, the watermelon really brings that freshness, with the bunga kantan. Oh my goodness, it's so good. That's why I love to put it together. And instead of olive oil, what I did is I actually substituted with palm oil because I really like how palm oil is such a versatile ingredient. It goes well with all my recipes. So start using it, I think. So, people ask me, like my friends, when they come over, when I cook for them, they tend to say, Ash, why do you tend to incorporate fruits with protein? Vegetables, are you a health freak? Okay, come on, let's get real. Do I look like I only eat veggies? No, right? So, yeah, but you know what? I'll tell them this. The truth is, I've always been known as the fruits girl because my dad owns this fruits and vegetable shop. So, I'm like his, you can call it fruit princess. So, as I was growing up, I really see him, has this so much knowledge in fruits and vegetables when he worked. And, it really gave me this passion of understanding what he sees in fruits and vegetables, how different it is, how raw the ingredient is, but yet so beautiful when you look at it, And he really gave me that passion. And when I started to learn a lot from him. And, like for example, like this. Look at this rockets. Look how fresh it looks. It's so green and it's so beautiful. And you just put a bit of dressing. Just a bit, you don't need a lot. And you just mix it up. When you mix it up, it's ready to go. You can do this a quick, for lunch or whatever. And I like to top it off of my tartare because it really gives that extra bitterness, it gives that bitterness towards the tartare, the sweetness of everything. And, as I was growing up, I always wonder, how everything is so different. And I started to fall in love. I really fell in love with all this raw ingredient on how different everything is. But yet when you put it together, it marries, it tastes so wonderful together. And that is why I really love cooking. And what's so amazing is that I started to, in all my recipes, I really started to put all the different elements together. I started to, to experiment different things. And I started to realize that I have a really fusion edge to all my recipes. Like even this dish is so fusion. But the funny thing is, let me tell you, okay, I really I wasn't a really huge fan of fusion. I've always believed that every cuisine, French, Chinese, Italian, Mediterranean, they all have its own identity, its own beauty and uniqueness. That's why I love it. But, when I started creating my own recipe using my dad's raw ingredients, going to my dad's shop every morning and try to experiment different things, I started to really see how food really allows the opposite to marry. Honestly, when you create a dish, to me, it's all about creativity and have an open mind. That's when I really know that I can create a new dish. And as I was growing up, I really see that my dad and we don't really have a same mindset. So basically what we had was, we're like this dish, you know, and he always had this mindset. You know how like fathers, they have this plan out on like, oh, you know, I have a life plan now. My daughter is going to have a major in a professional degree, you know, 9 to 5 job, no long hours, and then, you know, I'll get married, meet a guy, live happily ever after. But sorry, Dad, he found out that I'm really different. So he decided to understand me, you know. So he really sees that how different, how unique I am. So I always believe, I told my mom this, you know, I believe everyone is unique individuals. And for me, cooking is what really brings my individualistic flair out. So when I started prepping for this competition, I had a leap of faith and just join this competition and do it, you know. And then when my dad came and asked me, you have to practice, you know. And I said, okay, I will. And then that is a sign of love to me, you know. And then he asked me, what are you making, Ash? I'll be like, oh, I'm making tuna and watermelon tartare with basil ice cream. He's like, Ash, that is really weird. No, fusion is not the way to go. He was so disappointed. But that did not upset me. I was so determined. I was like, no, I'm going to show this. I'm going to show my flavors, let my dish shine on its own, and it will speak for itself. So one day he came to me, last week actually, Wednesday was like my last prep, and then he was like, can I try your dish? I was so surprised. I was like, yes, of course, you know. So I made a mousse bouche for him, you know, and I gave it to him, and my heart was beating so fast. You know how like when sons or daughters, you bring your boyfriend and girlfriend and you bring to your parents, and then you're like, oh no, will they approve, will they disapprove, you know? And then so that's how I felt. But no, my dad, he had a poker face, okay? His poker face. And I was just like, oh, okay, this is not going well, I think. Then he smiled and he said, not bad, really not bad. And then I just kept quiet, and he said, but remember, I'm not telling you this because you are my daughter, okay? But really, it's not bad. And then he smiled, and then he continued chewing it and munching. You know, Chinese parents, they like to talk while they chew. I do that too. But you know, and that moment to me was when my dad connected with my dream. My flavors connected with him, you know, and that brought me to a whole different level. That's why I really love this dish so much, you know. And I showed him this, and he really loved my basil ice cream. It's so strange because he doesn't like veggies at all. Okay, so what I'm gonna do for this dish, before I tell you what happened with how my relationship with my dad grew because of this competition, I'm gonna just quenelle this. I'm not the best at this, but you know, practice. I'll eventually get a perfect quenelle. But you know, like for my dad and I, my relationship with him, it's like this too. Balsamic and chili sauce, okay? So you can say I'm a bit of the feisty one, the chili, and he's the balsamic one. So we're really different, and you can see how this chili and this balsamic, it does not look alike. It does not, you know, when you blend it together, it does not even connect. It does not, you know, when you mix it two together, there's a separation. That's like how my relationship is with my dad, you know, how different we are, but yet when you eat it together, when you eat this chili and this balsamic together, there's this connection. This is how my relationship with my dad, it works. This two works is how my dad and I make a great father and daughter team, you know. So I'm just gonna top it here. I'll bring this out. Yep. Okay, so you're gonna see this. I'm gonna put it a bit on the tartare. What's amazing is that when my dad ate the food, he really gave me that look that, you know, I can do this, I can do well. And when I continue making this dessert and this starter together, so it's like an appetizer, he really gave me that joy that that what I've been waiting for. So when I actually fried up some babies of this. This is capers. I love to fry it. It's this crunch to it. It really adds a different texture and flavor to my dish. Okay, and then I actually had some of the micro basil. Give it a different edge. Yeah, it's really simple. Food is like an art. To me, food is an art to create. How I created this dish, an art to celebrate, an art to connect. So this dish, my dad had brought me a special moment. I will always remember that this is the dish that when my dad and my flavors connected. This dish is about my future and my childhood. This is what inspired me, my relationship with my dad for this particular dish. And this dish, finally, is my gift and my passion. So here it is. I'll just make it look a little prettier. And, edible flowers always does the trick. It really lifts up your whole dish. Here it is, tuna and watermelon tartare with basil ice cream. I really hope you enjoy it as much as I did putting it all together. Thank you.
Actually, I think the purpose of this competition was not to come up with the perfect recipe, was more of how you actually present and demonstrate a little bit of cooking skill. During the demonstration that you were giving out, I personally found, and some of us personally found, that you were ranting, and you couldn't stop ranting, and what you should have done was try to focus on the recipe and trying not to relate the recipe to someone else or whichever it is. But maybe maybe like to explain more, how did this recipe come about? Why does the combination of a watermelon and tuna go together perfectly, for example, and always try to stay on point. So it was very hard to stay with you at that point, yeah.
Especially on camera, when you keep repeating the same thing, for example, about your dad. I thought if I had listened one more, I'm going to drop dead, I'm going to warm it up here, To be honest with you, it's like you went on and on and on. I said, I wish I have a daughter who can talk about me all the time like that, And but so you got to go stick. Just one or two we understand, but don't drag like that. That's why we see. So, so that's why it's very important to capture and use that moment to share just about everything. If you want to share a story about your dad, okay, go on that period and then stop it and then come back. Okay, now let's come back to and don't move. That's what happened today. I see. I just tried this because I don't know, when I try to eat some good quality fish, tuna or salmon, whatever, I want to find that fineness in texture and flavor and all that. But the watermelon just drowned everything. It's like, I don't know, in my point of view, because when I eat, because I eat so much Japanese food, I enjoy that. And adding this watermelon was like, for me, my opinion is like, no, big mistake. I don't know, you're more,
Well, I mean, no, you won't serve this in a restaurant. No, you won't serve basil ice cream with watermelon and tuna. But it reflects to you. And like I said, the purpose of the competition reflects to you. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to portray in front of the camera, in front of the audience, I think that was more key, more than anything else, you know. Other than that, some recipes work, some recipes don't, you know. Yeah.